Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about how to build a network of bookkeeper friends to support you. I'm Morgan from FinePoints.biz and my goal is to help you get organized. I would love it if you stick around and subscribe to my channel for a new video every week. So I got a great question from one of my subscribers, and she talked about trying to reach out to other bookkeepers and maybe people feeling like that was a competition, like someone in competition to her, reaching out and trying to, maybe steal business or something rather than just build that network to support each other. So I just started thinking about that a little bit, and I just jotted down a couple of ideas that I had about how to kind of form those networks and those relationships with other bookkeepers. And so I just kind of wanted to come on here and chat with you guys about that and let you know kind of some of my thoughts on that. So give this video a thumbs up if you could always use a couple more bookkeeper friends. All right, so starting out, why do you really want a network? Or why do you want other bookkeepers to talk to you? So this was pretty much the number one thing that kind of surprised me about and I didn't like about starting my own business was that every single thing was up to me and I had to make every single decision. This seems obvious now, but it was a really hard transition because I previously had worked in corporate America for a really big company, and everything's decided for you and everything, there's tons of resources. There was 50 floors of people sitting in, who could act as resources for me if I had questions, and there was extensive training and all this stuff. So when you go out on your own, you obviously don't have any of that network. So I think building it into your business is really helpful and really important because it is really easy to feel lonely. And then oftentimes tons of questions come up. You're like, what do I do in this situation? What do I do if a client, says this to me and it's rude? Or what do I do if I'm having this problem in QuickBooks and I don't know how to fix it? Or how do I get insurance? How do I learn this technology? How do I figure out this new business niche in construction that I want to figure out? Even if your network doesn't have all the answers, just even having them there to kind of bounce ideas off of is invaluable. So let's talk first about approaching other bookkeepers in your area and wanting to meet together, in person. So first you have to identify someone that you want to meet with. Of course, maybe you see them every day when you drive to the store, or maybe you did a Google search to find other people in your area. So once you find someone that you want to connect with, I would send them an email and think about phrasing it in a way where they get something out of it. You're not just asking them for their time and their resources and their expertise. You want to give them these benefits. So maybe it's you're starting a network of bookkeepers in your area. Even if it's, only 3 people meeting in a coffee shop every other month, they will reap the benefits of that because they will be able to have this network as well in the support system as well. Maybe you're starting out and you want to volunteer in their office for a little bit. Maybe they have a big promotion of some kind that's coming up, or maybe they do a charity event or something that you can help with. So look at their business, see what they're interested in, and phrase your proposition in a way that they can tell they're going to get some benefit out of it. Another option to phrase it is you can say you want to have an informational interview. So I don't know how popular this term is, but when I worked in corporate America, again, it was like a magic word that everyone always used all the time. So people were always having informational interviews with everyone. So if you're going to do that, make sure it's really minimal commitment to them and you're really clear about what you need. You can say, can I come to your office for 15 minutes on this day and ask you these 5 questions because I'm having trouble with this part of QuickBooks. If it is an informational interview and there's someone that is pretty far ahead of you in their career, just make sure you're clear about how much time that you're going to take up. You're not going to take up their whole afternoon with all these questions, but it's just short and sweet. And I have always found that people are happy to help. And if not, then, that's probably not meant to be someone that is going to be in your network anyway. And then kind of on the other end of the scale, if you look for bookkeepers who are just starting out, they're probably going to be more hungry and more needy for that contact and that support. So if you can identify people that are newer in the business and really want that network, that will be to your benefit as well. And the next thing I thought about is try online friendships. So if maybe you're in a rural area where there's not a lot of bookkeepers, or maybe you just can't find anyone in your area that you connect with, don't be afraid to do the same thing, but just do it online. So now we can connect with anyone all over your country. So you can approach them in the same way, be like, I really admire your business structure and I want to learn more about it. These are the benefits that you're going to have by meeting with me or by joining this little group I'm starting. Be like, we're going to just meet quarterly for a short time and then we'll have an agenda so it's not a waste of anyone's time. Anyways, just be clear about what you're doing and the benefits it's going to give to people. There's also BNI groups that are well established throughout the US. So that is just a group of people that have come together, and usually they're in different industries, so it won't be only bookkeepers, but that can actually be to your benefit as well, because maybe there'll be other entrepreneurs that have similar problems to you as they're starting their business. Or it might also help you because they might become future clients. I know people who are in those groups and they really use each other's businesses, and then it's also word of mouth referral. So that can be a way to meet people as well. Another great resource I have found are accountants. So oftentimes accountants have more work than they need. At least that's what I've found. Or maybe they don't do bookkeeping, but they just do tax prep or something. So anytime you can network with accountants, that is going to be really beneficial to you because they're in this same industry. We don't see each other as competition. Another good way to get to know bookkeepers is go to classes or networking events in your area. So I know once one of my clients paid for me to go to a QuickBooks class. It was some kind of advanced QuickBooks class, and there was a whole auditorium, or it was a whole huge room filled with bookkeepers, and they were all came to learn this one thing about QuickBooks. So if you go to an event like that, make sure you utilize it. So don't just go and eat lunch by yourself, or go out to a restaurant. Talk to the people at your table, talk to the people around you, ask for their business card when you leave. The people that you connect with, make sure you get their contact information so you can follow up. In my city also, I think it's in their Chamber of Commerce, they have a business group that you can go to, and they have different classes and things you can take, and some of them you have to pay for, some of them are free, but it's just look at your city's resources, and then from some of those activities you might be able to find like-minded entrepreneurs that you can meet with. Let me know in the comments if you have found any good networking groups in your city. And then anytime you're meeting with someone new, make sure you listen. You don't want to talk too much about your goals and your needs, but make sure you're listening to what they're saying and what their needs are. And don't be afraid to take initiative. So I think a lot of times people kind of want to get together, they want to have these type of networks, but just no one takes the initiative, so it just kind of gets dropped. So if you're the one to do that, that can be really valuable for the group. And you want to be relatively persistent, not obnoxious, of course, but sometimes people need a little bit of convincing, or they need to be asked more than once to join a group or to meet with you. Overall, I really do believe whatever you're focusing on, whatever you put your time and effort into, that is the part of your business that's gonna, kind of grow and thrive. So if that is a goal that you really want to have, and you really desire to have that, network of bookkeepers, or you've been thinking about it for a couple years and you've always thought that it'd be helpful, but you haven't done it, I would really encourage you just to set some time aside and to focus on that. Maybe just for, an afternoon, just put together a little plan in place and think about some people that you can contact in your group. And that is really going to benefit you and them in the long run. Thank you so much for those of you that have stayed to the end. I have another Q&A Tuesday for you. So this question is from Dawn, and she says, QuickBooks will ask your company name when you sign up. So what if I don't have a company yet? And then the next person is Laura, and she has something similar. So does she need a specific email for signing up for QuickBooks Online? That company name does throw a couple people off. I've had this question a few times. You don't need a registered company name to start your QuickBooks Online account. You can just use any name as a placeholder. I would maybe use Morgan's Bookkeeping Company as a placeholder, and then if you do want to change that later, you totally can. It doesn't really show up on things. I mean, it would show up on your invoices if you send an invoice to clients, but it's not something that's set in stone that you can never change again. So just put in whatever you want as you're signing up, and then change it later if you need to. And then in terms of a separate email address, that's kind of personal preference. No one's gonna see what email address you use, so it doesn't really matter. But I do think it's good to have a separate email account just for your business. I think it's a way to organize things so you can keep, your business email separate from your personal emails, and then all your business login information would be under that, your business email address. But in general, it doesn't matter, and I'm almost positive you can change your email address later too if you need to. So when you're signing up for QuickBooks Online Accountant, nothing's set in stone, but just get in there and get signed up. I do have a video all about how to sign up for QuickBooks Online Accountant, which is free to sign up, and then you can get the free QuickBooks certification, and then you do have to pay as soon as you get your first client and they want to use QuickBooks, but for your own books and for the certification, it's free. Okay, and then Daph left a comment on my video that's called Monthly Bookkeeper Tasks, and she was wondering, what do I mean by input the check? So that's a great question, and if you don't have experience as a bookkeeper, you wouldn't know what that means. So how it works is, for my clients that write paper checks, so they write the paper checks and then it needs to get into QuickBooks somehow. So what I do is I input, or there's a area in QuickBooks to go to, and it says add new check, and I type in all the information about that, and some of it autofills. It kind of learns what you do, and the check number just will go to the next check number. So you don't have to fill in every single thing, but I get the check in QuickBooks. And then once I use bank feeds, and you may be wondering why you need to put in the checks manually if the bank feed is going to feed in. So there's a couple reasons for this. First of all, if you input checks, then it helps you know what checks are written. So say you write a check for $1,000 and someone doesn't cash it for like 3 weeks. So you want to make sure you have $1,000 in your account to pay them. So it helps you track how much money is out there floating, you know, your accounts payable, what you need to pay to people. And then the other reason I find it helpful too is because, so say you write, 15 paychecks at the end of the month and you want that money to come out of July, but then people don't cash it until August. So they cash it, on August 5th, 6th, and 7th. If you write your check ahead of time, then you can control which month that money goes into. So then that just helps because then when you're pulling, profit and loss statement by month, then you can see each month is more accurate then because you have the payroll or whatever the expenses in the correct month. Okay, so once you input the check manually, then the bank feed will notice it once that person cashes the check. So, Sally cashed her paycheck for a few $1,000s, and then it will know because the check number matches and the amount matches, and it'll just say match by it. And then so that stops the check from being in QuickBooks twice because you entered it and then it is entered in the bank feeds. So they match together and then you click match and then it enters into QuickBooks. So I hope that helps with that question. Keep your questions coming. Let me know in the comments if you want to know anything else.